Hello, 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 everyone. Glad to see you're here. And just a quick message. It's almost Halloween. So if you like Halloween, you celebrate Halloween, happy Halloween. I know a few days early. In fact, in fact, I was going to dress up, but I thought that might be a little too much for a Sunday morning or a Sunday afternoon. Here it's just 12. Um, but I was going to dress up and maybe just put on some makeup like that. Ooh, this is my Halloween makeup. Silly, silly, silly. Um, okay, so today I'm going to recap the lessons I did in October. For those of you that don't know, I do offer live streams for members only, and there are two tiers. The first tier will get you one Sunday a class a month, and the second tier will give you 3 Sundays a month. Now, that doesn't include the free lesson like today. So technically, you could have classes with me every Sunday at 12 o'clock. That's if you join the Trailblazers. We have the Explorers, which is the one Sunday a month live stream for members only, and the Trailblazers, which there are 3 Sundays in the live stream. So you have 3 live streams. And then there's the free ones. So if you join Trailblazers, Blazers, blah, you'll get 4 classes with me every Sunday at 12 o'clock. Now, this lesson is only a half hour long. Sometimes it goes a little longer. That depends on you. If I have people asking me questions, it could go as long as an hour. But as of now, I don't see anyone here. Okay. So let's look at the recap of October's lessons. And most of the slides today are from the live streams that I've done this month. So you'll see the screen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And occasionally I'm going to look this way because I have another computer running to see if you have any questions. If you do, and you're watching this live, you can post questions or answers in the chat box. And if I see them, which I hope I do, I can answer your questions. Okay. Otherwise, if you're watching this on the replay, you can post questions below, and I'm happy to answer those as well. So here we go. Let's begin. Last month, I left you with this as homework, but bad teacher, I gave you the answers. So for those of you that watched the live stream last month, we talked about cars, right? We talked about phrases and things you could say about with your cars. This was supposed to be one that homework that you filled out, and then I would give you the answers. But I gave you the answers. So just as a recap, you can look at these words and you can fill them in. So windshield, in British English, they call it a windscreen. We have the wipers. That's the thing that gets the water off of your windshield. Side mirror, we have 2, so it'd be side mirrors. Door. Hubcap. That's a good one. A tire. You can say wheel. I had a student say, well, can I say wheels? Yes, tires or wheels. Notice the spelling. This is how there's American English. So American English spelling. Light or lights. Bumper. This is the bumper. There's a front bumper and there's a back bumper. And then the hood. Now, in British English, they call it a bonnet, right? So the hood of the car. Okay. And a rear view mirror is this mirror that's so that you can see behind you. The thing that I don't see on here is trunk, which is in the back of a car. Unless you're driving a Volkswagen Beetle, then it would be in the front. But usually the engine is in the front. The trunk is in the back. British English, they use the word boot, which I think is funny. Boot. So there's the recap of the vocabulary words from our last class. Okay, let's look at a topic that I talked about in one of my live streams, American food. Right? I talked about American food. Do you like American food? I mean, I have a hard time saying that fast food is the only type of American food. We have a lot of different cultures, nationalities. They have their own types of food, and when they come to the U.S., they make their food from their homeland or from their country, and then Americans go, what's that? How do you make that? And it's like some version of it. I think it's funny that we say American food is fast food, right? But I think of turkey, right? That's not fast food. It takes on average about 3.5 to 4 hours to bake a turkey. That's not fast. And I think of that as being American food. Pies. We have pumpkin pie. I think of that as American food. I know. I don't know where the first pie was made. So, but I think of pumpkin pie as being American, apple pie as being an American food. But if you ask most foreigners that are not from the US, they think hamburgers, hot dogs, muffins. So tell me, what do you think American food is? Do you think it's just fast food? And what fast food have you tried? Okay, so we learned the word stereotypes in this lesson, which is a generalization usually exaggerated or oversimplified and often offensive. And that is used to describe or distinguish a group of people. An example of a stereotype is that all Asians eat rice, right? And that's not true. Not all Asians eat rice. It's a stereotype. What stereotypes do you know? When I lived in China, a stereotype about Americans were that we were all fat and that we only eat fast food. So that's a stereotype. I don't think we're all fat. I don't think I'm fat. So that's what a stereotype is. And that's one of the words that we learned in the lesson. We also talked about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we talked about these foods. So that if you ever go to the US and you haven't tried these things, you could order them at a restaurant. For example, like this, in this picture, we see pancakes, right? Pancakes. Now, when I lived in Costa Rica, they had these thin little things that I would call crepes, right? Those tiny, those very thin pancake, and I would call that a crepe, but they call them pancakes. This it actually has a name. It's called Adam and Eve on a Raft. It's eggs and toast, and that's what I like to have for breakfast. I like eggs and toast for breakfast. But if you put the eggs on the toast in the 50s, if you went to a diner or a restaurant, you could ask for an Adam and Eve on a raft. And if you ever hear that in a movie, now you'll know what that is. Donuts is popular. I'm not a big donut fan, especially in the morning. I think of a donut as something like a little snack or a little treat, but not for breakfast. And then there's cereal. We have something called oatmeal. You probably have it too. Oats, and it's warm, and we sometimes put cinnamon, honey, fruit, uh, and that's a hot cereal. This cereal is cold. Just put milk on it. Do you have cereal? Do you eat cereal for breakfast? And then we have bacon and eggs. That's a popular one. I don't like bacon, so I don't eat ham. I don't eat bacon. But bacon and eggs is a common breakfast meal. So those are our breakfast foods. And we talked about lunch. And of course, this is pizza, salad, fruit cup or fruit in a cup, fruit cup, fruit, hamburger and fries, not chips. We call these fries in the US, and chicken nuggets. So for lunch, I like salad or fruit. Pizza for me is something I would eat at dinner, not very often for lunch. Just I'm talking about me. A lot of people have pizza for lunch, but if I eat pizza at lunchtime, I feel tired the rest of the day. It's just too heavy for me. Okay. I have a class where the students are basic English. So uh, we had some vocabulary words here in this lesson. What's the hmm? What's the hmm? If you said what's the matter, you're right. What's the matter? It's like saying, why are you upset? Or you seem upset, or you look sad. So instead of saying that, you could say, what's the matter? Or if someone's having a problem, you could say, what's the matter? I told her, oh, be careful. I told her everything. Remember, many is plural, many cars, many dogs, many things. So I told her everything. If you're just joining us now, hello, glad to have you here. I'm just recapping all of the lessons that I've done this month and from the live streams. I talked about having two different tiers. We have the explorers that there's a live members, a live stream for members only once a month, plus this free one. And then with the trailblazers, they get 3 live streams plus this one. So you have an opportunity to have lessons with me every Sunday at 12 o'clock. So you can join the members only groups if you want more lessons. Today's lesson is, like I said, a recap of all of these lessons. All right, let's look at some words. I'm going to say the word, you can repeat. Terrific. Pictures. Brush teeth. Left alone. Teddy bear. Vacation. Nonsense. Cuddly. Insisted. Grown-ups. Scared. Chew me out. So these words come from a story that I read in class. And chew me out, you might hear this phrase if someone is yelling at their child or yelling at someone, if they're upset with them. Like, why did you do this? You should never, ever do that. Never do that. And that's to be chewed out, right? So you could say, my boss chewed me out because I didn't finish the work on time, or my boss chewed me out because I was late. Same thing with teachers. My teacher chewed me out for not turning in my assignment. My dad chewed me out because I came home late, right? So to be chewed out means to be yelled at for something you did wrong. Nonsense is, it's like, that's nonsense. It's ridiculous. It's, you know, crazy. It's nonsense. Not true, right? You could say, I think he came home late. Well, that's nonsense. He's never late, right? So you could use nonsense as, that's not true. So these are the words that we reviewed in one of the classes. All right, now remember, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and I'm happy to answer those questions. Okay, next page. Another thing we talked about was pictures, what these words mean. So here we have the word bloom, right? That's when a flower opens up. We call that bloom. The flowers are blooming, right? It's an action, right? Bloom. You can say the flowers are in bloom, right? The flowers are in bloom. Now, this is usually used at springtime when it's spring and the flowers are blooming. The word yell. Now, we have yell and scream. Don't get those two words confused. Native speakers use them same, but there is a little bit of a difference. If I yell at you, it means that I'm saying words, right? If I'm saying words, I'm yelling at you, don't do that, come here, right? To yell, come here, quit yelling. But right? So that's yelling. If I'm saying words, that's yell. But if I'm screaming, I say, something scared me. Halloween's coming up. You might scream if something scares you. So there is a difference between scream and yell. And then ride. What things do we ride? Okay, not very often that we ride an elephant. I've ridden an elephant once, but it's not very often. But what things do we ride? Okay, so you can ride a bike, you can ride a motorcycle. We drive a car. You can ride in a car, but we don't say I rode in a car, right? We would say I took a car, or we wouldn't say I rode a car. I drove a car. I was in the car. Same thing with buses. You can ride a bus. You can ride a tram. Right? So those are some words that we talked about in that class. Another class that we did, another live stream we did was vocabulary about animals. Speaking of animals, we had the word exotic. I'll say the word, you repeat after me. Snakes, lizards, spiders, llama or llamas, plural, turtle, parrot. Now, this word is difficult for some students. Veterinarian. Ooh, big word. Veterinarian. Now you can use that soft T to a D. Veterinarian. 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 Right? That flap T. I've done a lesson on flap T. You can check out the link below. I'll post it. Pet store. Pet store. PETA. Now, PETA is an organization. It stands for the ethical treatment of animals. People for the ethical treatment of animals. So, people for the ethical treatment of animals. And PETA is a group that promotes safety for animals, right? So no killing animals for their fur, for example. I'm not sure if you've heard of this group. Most people in the US knows of this group. Most people know about this group in Canada, US, and I think most people in Europe as well. Animal rescue, that group is very involved in animal rescue as well. Wildlife rescue. Okay, so we have domestic animals. Domestic means that these are animals that you would have in your home. So we have domestic animals: cat, dog, fish, and birds. Farm animals, we have horse, cow, goat, sheep, and pig. Those are farm animals. So if you had to group these animals, that's how you can group them: exotic, domestic, and farm. Wildlife as well. Okay, we talked about popular sayings. So here are some popular sayings in the US. And of course, because we were talking about animals, they're all animal related. So curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity killed the cat, right? You can say this phrase if someone is asking you too many questions, especially if they're personal questions. But if someone's asking you a lot of different questions and you want to stop them from asking questions, you might say to them, curiosity killed the cat, right? So that's one way to use that phrase. Busy as a bee, that's a common expression. That means that you're working a lot and you're very, very busy. So you're busy as a bee. Sly as a fox. You're very smart. Sly as a fox. Stubborn as a mule, right? Stubborn as a mule. Stubborn means that you don't change your mind easily, right? No, I'm not going to do this. Come on. No, I don't want to. You're being stubborn. Stubborn as a mule. Mules tend to be stubborn, right? It's like, come here, come here. They say no. Well, they don't say it, but they don't do what you want them to because they're stubborn. Stubborn as a mule. Slippery as an eel, right? That's someone who's sneaky, who does things like they do things without asking. They do things that not necessarily make you angry, but these things could be something that might make you angry. Um, so, for an example, if everybody's pitching in and working and putting together a project, and this person says, okay, well, I can do that, but I have to go home really quick and get something. And then later on says, oh, I had an accident with my car. I won't make it. So, but it's not true. It's a lie. They're being slippery. Like they're getting away with something. So if someone is getting out of work or getting away with something, then they're being slippery as an eel. And strong as an ox, someone who's very strong. You can lift heavy things, strong as an ox. Another class that we had was the if, right? If you were stranded on a desert island, what three things would you want with you and why? What three things? I would think some sort of knife, right? Some sort of maybe a machete. That would be one thing I would bring. I was thinking maybe matches, but eventually, if you're stranded on an island, you'd have to have a lot of matches, and hopefully they wouldn't get wet because then you might need a plastic bag to keep your matches in. So, I don't know if matches. I think you can start a fire with magnifying glass or rock, but yeah, that's a tricky one. Do I want to bring matches if I can only bring three things? And then maybe the third thing would be something that I could do, like maybe crochet, like yarn and a crochet hook. But Would you count that as two things? Would you count the yarn and the hook as two? Hmm. What would you bring if you were stranded on a deserted island? If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why? I would want teleportation so I could teleport to a place, right? I wouldn't have to fly. I could, not that I hate flying. I don't mind flying. It's just the waiting and standing in line and the cost. Uh, but if I were able to teleport, then, it'd be free. Okay, the other thing we talked about in another class was grooming. And we talked about hair care products, things that we use on our hair, like a comb, brush, curling iron, hair dryer, hair ties, or scrunchies are also called scrunchies, rubber bands, headband, hairpins or a hair clip, shampoo, conditioner, and hairspray. I used to use a lot of hairspray, but now not. I don't use it. I use a little bit of hair oil, but not hairspray. Let's see, what things do I have? I think I have all of these things, but scrunchies. I don't use a scrunchie, and I don't use bobby pins anymore. I used to use hair clips, but I only use them on occasion now, but not very often. I have a hair dryer. I have a brush. I have this kind of brush. I had this one, but it would get caught in my hair, so I didn't care for this brush. It was not one that I was used to using. I prefer this brush, this type of brush. I have a hair dryer, but I rarely use that. It's just because it takes so long to dry my hair, so I rarely use a hair dryer. I have a comb. I use a comb sometimes. I prefer the brush. I use shampoo and conditioner, and I use Dove. Dove is not a sponsor. Okay, let's go to the next one. The hair care products. Uh, this should be more just grooming products, not just hair care. Um, Razor, electric shaver or electric razor, shaving cream, aftershave, cologne. Men use cologne. Women, we use perfume, body lotion or hand lotion, nose hair trimmers. I had a student ask me what that was. So it's a machine and only used by older men because as men get older, their nose hairs tend to grow longer and their ear hair. So they ear hair trimmers and nose hair trimmers to trim the hair. I know it's gross. Gross. Um, and then a beard trimmer. So we have an electric razor. These are called blades. Um, my grandfather had a razor that used this. You would open up the razor and put the blade in. This is these are razors. And these are also blades, a type of blade where you just snap them in. Aftershave is that cologne that men use to soothe their face. Sometimes when you shave, I guess, guys, if you shave your face with a razor or use an electric razor, you use some sort of lotion to cool the face, so it's not so it's softer and it soothes your face, right? And if you use a razor, you need some sort of shaving cream, right? So this is shaving cream. We don't have a picture of aftershave. This is cologne. When I was in high school, I loved the smell of Polo. This is a type of cologne, and I just And then later on, as I got older, it was Drakkar. Oh, and now it's just a Either one, it doesn't really matter. It's just a little bit because it's very strong. Let me know. Do you use cologne or perfume? What do you use? I like rose perfume. I like perfume that smells like a rose. Or soap. I like a fresh soap smelling perfume. Okay. So here's some vocabulary words. Recap. This is to kind of repeat what was said, but summarize, right? Shorter amount of information. Stereotype is what you believe to be true of everyone, and it's not necessarily true. It's a stereotype, so you might believe it's true, but in reality, it's not. So that would be a stereotype. A veterinarian is an animal doctor. I don't think I mentioned that when I said the word veterinarian. It's a doctor for animals. Stubborn, right? To not change your mind quickly and or listen to someone else's opinions or say, no, I don't believe that, or no, I don't want to do that. You're being stubborn, right? Nose hair trimmers. That's just funny. That's just thought that would be a fun vocabulary word or vocabulary words: nose, hair, and trimmers. Okay, so those are the vocabulary words for today. Now, I need to know from you what things you would like to learn in these live streams. So if you have any suggestions, let me know below. If you'd like to have classes every Sunday at 12 o'clock, you can, like I said, join the live members only live streams. And that's it for today. I hope I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. And remember, please keep practicing. Bye-bye.